of Slauson Girl Speaks. I have the pleasure to speak with Chico Brown and Melvin Farmer, who are two LA legends that you all need to know about, definitely. So, would you guys mind introducing yourself for those that may not know who you are?
Chico Brown. I'm from Compton. Compton Empowered. I started Compton Empowered program. Now I'm a movie producer and I'm the president of Semi-Legal Diversity Group, and I do films now. Originally from Compton.
Definitely.
Melvin Farmer, former gang member, turned community activist, credible messenger. I work across the nation with youth intervention and prevention. I also manage and put the pieces together for other people's voices to be heard. I'm an author. I'm on numerous boards, won numerous awards for serving the community in Los Angeles. Internet influencer as well.
Okay, for sure. So thank you both for your time. I really do appreciate it. So for me, I like to talk to people that are older than me to kind of, get some reference of what was going on back in the day. Like it's one thing to read about it, but it's important to talk to people that were there. And so, yeah, for people of my generation, the millennials, you know what I'm saying? When we think about the 70s and 80s or when we read about it, it is something that is kind of like violence and crime and drugs is kind of like the theme that comes out of the 70s and 80s. You know what I'm saying? And so for you both that kind of lived through that, would you say that that was the reality during that time?
I can talk more about the 80s. He can talk more about the 70s.
Okay.
So we'll go in chronological in order. The 70s in Los Angeles, Compton, Watts. It was a time after the civil rights, 64, 65, Martin Luther King assassination, Malcolm X, Eldridge, Cleveland, all these guys were getting slain. So come the 70s, the early 70s, you had the Black exploitation era, which was the Nicky Barnes, Superfly, Melvin Van Peebles, Comeback Charleston Blue, Cleopatra Jones. You get the picture, but it was pimping, drug dealing, heroin, New York and stuff. So that was what's going on then. Then the culture started changing where Soul Train came, Soul Train gang banging and pop locking. That was the culture was on the streets. So during that era, the Crips were formalized in Los Angeles, Watts. It wasn't South Central then, it was Los Angeles, LA, the West Side, East Side, Compton, which included Watts in the area back then. So during that time, it was a lot of violence. Then later on, it was just gang warfare, taking leather coats, getting killed for stepping on biscuits. And then later on, as the 70s, at the end, the cocaine game started being introduced, which it already had been. But now it's starting to get prevalent on the streets to where you got ether bass and then it go into the rock game and that. So during the 70s, it was, you were born into the game, not sworn in, particularly when it comes to street violence, not only gang activity, but police corruption, they killing you also. I don't been there when they have scenes like in the Denzel Washington movie Training Day where they cut the lights off. I don't seen them take Tookie head up where they pull their gloves out and other things. So it was very violent during that era of the 70s, particularly in Los Angeles.
Okay, definitely. So can you kind of speak to what the experience was of Black people in Los Angeles outside of like the community issues and violence, just in terms of like access and jobs and, was LA racist during that time?
Well, the west side of Los Angeles, which is divided, that's a good question, by the way, because most of those that came to LA were migrants from down south. They moved on the east side, when the east side, Broadway, Central, was for the Ellis Fitzgeralds, the Charlie Birds, the Monks, the jazz singers, all that. It was the place to be.
Right.
Then when I moved over to the west side, that's the other side of the 110 freeway on 83rd and Western, it was integrated. I seen it as a child. You had giant slides, you had miniature golf, you had theaters, you had swimming pools, you had go-karts, you had the farm, you had cemeteries, you had the airport. These were all the things that were afforded to whites. So when I moved on that side of town, we were integrating over there where there were whites, where you could see at St. Andrews Park, Tookie and them, Raymond, Washington at one end of the park, and white people playing croquet at the other end of the park. So it was still racial tension over there, but the living was better. You had a family structure. See, most people think that the parents didn't raise their children, but most of the people we knew each other parents, never had to worry about staying out at night. They just called on the phone, tell a parent. So we never had to worry about these conditions that go on now. That was advent, but the racial conditions were not only adversely affect you mentally, you had the police. I remember an incident where I was about 15, I'm walking on about 70 something in Hoover in the alley, black kid, 15 years old. So this about 1972, 73. And this when the alleys used to have dirt, where the tires rolled over and there'd be grass in the middle, no cement. So the police pulled me over in the alley, two white ones, put my hands on the top of the hood, and the hood was automatically hot. So if you jump at something, they'd beat you up. So they talked me, pressed me down, asked me why I'm out and things. But then they told me to run. They said, you can leave, but we want you to run. But I knew if I'd have ran, they'd have shot me. So it was a gang of dirt down. I just fell down on my knees and dug my knees in the dirt and said, if you kill me, they're going to know I was on my knees. That's exactly how that went. It kicked me in the back and they just drove off laughing. So that's how it was back then during the 70s. Now you can go from there as far as the 80s and the violence, and because he was in the drugs.
Right. So Chico, what are some of the things that come to mind the most when you think about the 80s?
Well, like for me, I'm gonna start off in 76 because that's when I got shot in 76. In 80, my best friend died in my arms at school at Centennial High School.
Oh wow!
So violence for me started early. I got shot at 76. By the time I was 12, by the time I'm 15, 16, me and my best friend died in my arm while we was going to school at Centennial. So that part, the gang violence, then it was way different because like back then you knew who was a pirate, you knew who was a blood, you knew who was a Crip, because we did wear the colors then. That's what the color of the movie come out after that. But we were wearing blue and we Crips, and the other side was wearing dead. In Compton, it was just pirate rules, and they formed up with the blood, so they started wearing red and stuff. But for me, it's always been a violent part of growing up. I thought everybody grew up like this, just growing up in Compton. I didn't know it was a difference. I didn't know it was a West Side. I just thought we all gang bang. So, once I got in the drug game, like in 80, 81, 82, right in school, quarter started selling weed, PCP, and that led on to me selling cocaine. And I think 83, 84, I was heavily involved in the cocaine trafficking. From 84 until I got arrested with Freeway Rick in 93.
Okay. So can we kind of like back up a little bit about the PCP piece? Because is that what you refer to as ether-based? Because you had mentioned that. No?
Ether-basing was when they first started. People seem to think that the cocaine game come late 70s. No, you had the Tootie Reese, the Nicky Barnes,
right,
the Shugs, the Kinos, prior to the Harry O's that were getting it back in the 70s. Earlier.
Like in New York area?
No, Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
Okay.
All over. This before Felix Mitchell and all the ones that you see on social media.
Right.
So in 71, 72, if you do your research, that's called the Black Exploitation Era.
Right.
But ether basing started to where that's what Richard Pryor was doing when he burnt himself. That's when you take the cocaine base and make it to its purest form. And then you used to take 151 rum, take a little metal bar, put the cotton and dip it in before they started using lighters. So they smoking it, but it's the purest form.
Yeah.
Now PCP, when we first got hooked onto it, that was about 73, 74, and they were selling it on mint leaves, pouring the liquid, and it was called Dutz.
We called Dutz.
Yes, Danger Dutz, and you bought it in aluminum foil.
Right.
Whereas later on, they started dipping them first in the cool cigarettes,
Right.
Sherms, and putting it, and that's how the form is today, where they started. But prior to that, it started being dipped on mint leaves, 73, 74, up around in there.
Okay. Why do you think that PCP kind of became like something that Black people started doing? Because I know my dad was like doing that for a minute in the hookahs.
I think then it was an affordable drug. Like cocaine was very expensive then.
Right.
You couldn't afford cocaine. So people that use, you can pay $5-10 for a stick, and everybody get high. Back then, cocaine was sort of unaffordable for Black people. That's why they didn't use it. And then when it come into the rock form, that's when it became a cheaper form.
Right.
Because, back in the day, cocaine was for rich people.
Right.
More rich people use cocaine.
Right. Okay, definitely. So let's kind of talk about the gang culture. You guys being, like in LA during the time when, gang banging formed. And then now we see that gang banging, Crips and Bloods is like across the US, you know what I'm saying? And how do you feel to kind of see like Crips and Bloods in other states?
For me, like just growing up in Compton all my life, being quiet, it wasn't that. Like when people said they got jumped in, no, you had to be from this neighborhood to be from there. So we grew into this stuff. My neighborhood became this. This is what I became. I'm from here because everybody else is from here. Not that you from somewhere like in the valley and you come and say you from my neighborhood. That didn't happen back in the days. And I know early when they first started, that damn sure didn't happen. So it's a whole big difference. Dudes claiming your neighborhood and that live in, say, Louisiana, and they say they from Compton and Crip. Like that shit don't make sense to me. But that's what's going on now. I'm sure back when they started this, I'm probably second, third generation. We're talking about first generation. I'm second generation. So, when they started, I think they had no idea that it was going to be time. This is nationwide. This is in Africa. If you think about that, like the whole.
Let me add on to that. When we was growing up, we had a saying, Crips don't die, we multiply. Right. That was at the beginning.
Okay.
It's 1972, 73. It started in 69, but started being known publicly after the Robert Ballou murder at the Palladium over the leather coat. That was April 1972, so I just turned 15. We didn't have older guys. Tookie and them might have been the oldest we had to look up to. They 18, I'm 14. So we're talking about a time frame right there. And we came in united. East side, west side, Compton Crip. Wasn't no rolling 60s, wasn't no gangster Crips, wasn't no colors. We didn't know what we was doing. But at the time, this was superstar status on what we doing. That what was going on at the time amongst the youth. But at no time did we look at it as something glamorous. We just looked at it as business. Where your face was your ID and your pistol was your passport. That's how we came into this game. So it's been over 50 years now. And now it don't change to where a lot of guys can be, get into this game where they're really gang members as opposed to gang bangers. So we have to distinguish what that means. Ain't everybody that claim Crip no gang banger. They're just associates, affiliates, understand the cause, the struggle, what it is to be brought up when the camera's not around and your boots to the ground. So it's a whole different environment for me. When I got into the game, Crips were together. Bloods were together, but they wasn't called Bloods. They were individuals, Pyrus, Bounty Hunters, Brims, Figueroa Boys, Walnuts, Acton Parks, Pablo Bishop, T. Rogers. All these cats were sowing their oats at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you get the term where you from.
Right.
Because you couldn't tell the difference. We all dressed it the same. Mm-hmm. We all looked the same. You couldn't ditch school back then, so you have to be on the school campuses, which later on in life y'all call peer pressure. We was up under a lot of pressure when you're traveling from school to school, and you're in somebody else's territory. So our initiation didn't come with no invitation. You understood when you came into this game what went on, how you came in, and what was expected of you. But nobody ever Tookie, Raymond, Washington, in our era, nobody ever told nobody go kill somebody or go do this. And it's a bad rap on these guys. When you do your research, them guys never went to jail after 1972. They wouldn't have never made it to be like me with 40 arrests before I was 18 in that 4-year period.
40?
Yeah, that's what you could do. They were rehabilitating youths. You didn't have youths that were doing what they were doing on a consistent basis. You were getting 3 years for a murder. Get the gun back, you get caught with a gun. Carjacking wasn't even invented. They call that GTA. They get punished now for the things we got away back then in the justice system.
Okay. So you mentioned Tookie Williams and Raymond Washington a few times. And for people that are unfamiliar with the significance of Tookie Williams, even though I don't know how you could not know, but can you speak at all to his significance as a founder of the Crip movement? And from your perspective, from what you could remember, like what was the motivations behind forming this Crip set?
Well, let me start by saying I knew both Raymond and Tookie personally. I was seeing Tookie before he got arrested, for which he never came back, and I was with Raymond the day before he got killed. So that's my credentials on how close I am to him when I speak. I met Tookie when I was in the 8th grade. I knew his sister, Bridget, and we were in the 8th grade. Is when I met Tookie. And a lifelong friend. He only lived to be about 24. Both of them. One got killed in 79. The other one got arrested in 79 and later on got executed. But Raymond is the founder, the head, where in 69 he formed a group over there on the east side. I think the Baby Avenues or something like that, which would eventually be the Crips. And then in 71, Tookie and them started meeting in Conversion. And then Raymond took out the game a little early by getting sent to prison. But both of them were the Clark Gables on the streets. As far as when you talked about the east side, you had Raymond Washington. When you mentioned Compton, you mentioned James Compton. And when you mentioned the west side, it'll be Tookie. These were the three faces for me that I stood behind when I'm with Tookie and we meet Raymond and him. We at the Watts Festival. So all these guys were the figureheads, but they wasn't the body. They had been on where they fought when they were coming up. They got in a lot of fights, a lot of stuff like the West Side. But when 72 started and the young ones started getting in, that's when the killing started. And that's their legacy. But then Tookie never killed nobody other than what he was alleged.
Right.
He wasn't a gunner. Raymond Washington wasn't a gunner. Raymond Washington and them were fighters. So I think that's a bad reputation that they have for their family members. I know his daughter, Ray Shiner. I know Tookie still talk to his children, his wife, Bonnie, and their bloodline. So I know these people personally to this day. So their legacies I keep alive. See, nobody can assassinate their legacies. And none of these cats you see on social media gonna ever be on Mount Rushmore with them. They wasn't there. They don't move by the same movement. The reputation these guys and people we're trying to get rid of. There wasn't nothing fly about what we was doing. And we try to get back because we've been down this road, me 30 years in prison, over 50, 60 years arrests, too old to work, too young for Social Security. You know, I was a tax burden. But at the end of the day, something good came out to where I can sit in front of this camera with my man, with you, and try to give back to the youth to don't do what we did. This ain't no 48 hours where the cameras go off and the action. These streets are filled with hurdles, and you really have to know how to move out here. And, you know, so I just feel obligated to keep not only their legacy alive, but to make sure that it's being held in honor and respect, because these guys, both of them, I knew them after the Crip. And see, we got segments.
Okay.
We have judged on our past. Them guys wasn't gang banging at the end when they got to be like that. They was just gangsters, street cats. So I think that gives it a bad rap. But at the end of the day, these guys were the figureheads and the faces when you talked on the streets and you were talking about the Crips in the early beginning. Those were the forefronts.
Okay, definitely. So you mentioned legacy and images and, you know, certain narratives and perceptions that you guys are trying to get away from. For you, Chico, as somebody that is in the filmmaking space, you know, how important is it for you to use filmmaking as a way to not only control your narrative, but to kind of show other perceptions of Compton?
For me, like, you know, I did a film on, it's called Compton Finest.
Compton Rising?
Compton Rising. I can't even think of the name, but Compton Rising. It was me putting Crips and Pyrus together, not showing all the negative stuff that we did, but I concentrated on the negative stuff to make this a real film, because we did, you know, we killed a lot of each other. But I took them same dudes who, you know, went to prison for murder, who went to prison for drugs, and put them together. So we start to rebuild the city of Compton, which was building houses in Compton. I started off with 10 Crips, 10 Pyrus, and I didn't know if it was going to work. It was like these dudes actually hated each other, not just, you know, Crips hated Crips and Pyrus hated Pyrus like that. But after talking with him for months, you're like, look, man, we got to do this, man. I know it's a lot of murders went on, but if we can sit and talk about it and understand each other, because if we know each other, people, like I heard you say this last time, it's hard to kill somebody that you really know, that's your next door neighbor. But this would happen in Compton. We separated ourselves. We all played baseball together. We all played basketball. But at some point in time, we can't go over here no more because we claim this neighborhood. So now the separation becomes a part of our life. We don't get to see these people no more. But they only live a couple of blocks away. So my whole thing, like, we need to get back together. Once we get back together, that'll put us together. We get to talk. And once we get to talking, we can, like, solve a lot of the problems. So as I seen me getting them these dudes together, we eating lunch together. We building houses. We tired. After work, they want to go home. They want to support their family. So this program actually worked for a while before I even got into the, you know, making this into a TV series. We're getting along. Everybody talking. We meeting every Tuesday and Thursday. We went from four members to 1,500. The problem I had was not with the guys. The problem I had is with the political officials who rejected the program. Once I brought it to Netflix, Netflix picked this program up. So as I began to film, I had to get approval from the city of Compton, and they rejected it. I raised all the money. I bought all the pieces in. I didn't ask the city for nothing. All I wanted the city to do was give me buildings that I can have these dudes redo. I took the whole financial responsibility on with Mark Wahlberg, Penny Marshall, that we will build youth centers, that we will do this. But it was a problem. I couldn't understand what's the problem. There's, political official, like, they want to be a part of something, but they don't really want this to happen. So I ran into that problem. I couldn't understand why would I run into this problem. And I'm telling you, I don't need no money from the city. All I need is buildings that you have that you get ready to throw away, or whatever you're gonna do to the building. Let my guys come in and redo it. So as we going through this stuff for a year, I mean, there's Crips and Pyrus like, Chico, I can't believe that they doing us like this. These dudes who never got along or now begin to get along, we talking every day. So they don't get mad at me for doing it. They get mad at the city. Why are our city officials, the people who are supposed to protect us, letting us do this to ourselves? So the program actually stopped, and then the gang violence started right back up. We can't even get the people that's supposed to be responsible to stop the gang violence to help us, or help us raise money and help these guys get jobs, because they wouldn't hire them. I end up hiring them. So for me, it's like, we can't get our own cities that back guys who, went to prison for drugs, went to prison for shooting or, gang violence. Who do we call? So now it's for us to put ourselves together without the political piece to it, and see how far we can take it. It's a struggle, like dudes, like, I don't think nobody that was born and raised want to do violence, go to prison. We could talk that shit, but at the end of the day, nobody want to do 20 years. So we could find a solution. The solution is not careers and finding jobs. For me, it was like, okay, I'm really going to do this film business. So all the movies I do is political, like, I want social justice and stuff. Like, how do we tell this story and put the word out that we can be successful and don't have to sell drugs? Right. That was my thing. We don't have to be gang. We don't have to promote the gang shit. We really did this. Like, now if this film come out, I know for a fact, like, Netflix was, everybody excited, but they never get to come out because the city of Compton refused it. Like, right. So we showing Crips and Pyrus from the beginning that's working together, rebuilding their own city. You know how many cities could have did that and take this whole projective all over the country and do this? But it never came out. But have I stopped? No, I'm pursuing it, the whole film, to make it come out one day.
Okay, cool. So that's still possibility to be kind of.
Yeah, no, I never gave up. Like, okay. I still got, only part that giving up is to do, because, I hired 20, 30 some guys. So now I don't have the funding to actually hire these same guys who's actually learning a skill, learning to be productive, learning to go home, take care of their family. Right. They don't have to sell drugs because I'm paying them way above minimum wage to keep this family issue going on. So now, it becomes an issue like, okay, if our own city don't want us, well, who wants us? Right. So that'd be like, damn, man, we can't even do this now. Some dudes, and we're so heartbreaking. Like, so many dudes that was involved, they like, I told you, Chico, like telling me, like, I told you they was going to do this. I told you they was going to do this. And I'm believing, like, nah, they can't do this. This is what we doing. We together. And like we had a big celebration of it. We had a big celebrity softball game. But the celebrities, for me, I was like telling the real celebrities, y'all are not the stars in here. The stars is these Crips and Pyrus getting along on the street. So we really don't need to take the pictures with y'all. These dudes are playing baseball and I divided the team. I put Crips and Blood on the same team. It wasn't no Bloods on this side and Crips on this side. So, we got a picture. It's like, I don't know, so many Crips from every neighborhood in Compton bought into this shit. But when it ended bad. So how do we bring this back together? How do we bring this to let the whole country, the world know that what we were doing? And this is like 5 or 6 years ago. Right. You saw the picture on my wall.
Yeah.
Could I piggyback on that about the importance of looking at your elected officials for your community, 8th district, 6th district, and when you vote, the power of the vote? Yeah. Because this hasn't just started. Let me give you another clear example. When Nipsey Hussle was slain, and we had LA Gangs Unite. Right. That was us over there, the A-Tray gangsters, the Gangsters Allies, the N-Hood. That's the first time in 40 years that these two rival groups and their allies had ever met over there on Slauson and Crenshaw. I was there working with Love and Hip Hop with Yo-Yo and Apple Watch. We was introducing Big U, Bear Claw, Mad Bones, Lil Sody, Cowboy, all of us over there, Stone. And this is the first time, but it was very important. Nation of Islam come. But you had a 30-day period from the time Nipsey got killed on the west side, which is Death Alley. That was just coming off the 100 Days, 100 Nights. That fiasco in 2015, that war, that was one of the most despicable display of disregard of human life I ever seen when it come to this game in these streets. But it go back to the elected officials. Right. Now, for 30 days after Nipsey Hussle accident, tragically, there was no gun violence on the West Side. You would have thought the elected officials would have came in and created an opportunity. We had a sanctuary set up to continue the dialogue amongst warring factions. Warring factions. See, it's all you can have. That's why it's important when he say he mixed them up in the baseball game.
Yeah.
That's mixing up warring factions, where now they're getting a chance to know each other as opposed to the segregation. So these little things are intricacies in this game that the naked eye would miss, because when you're looking at a picture, to us, we're looking outside at the picture. You could never see the picture in the frame. They in the frame. So these are naked eye things that really mean something.
Right.
So the elected officials, let's see, they've been talking to elected officials. They started off with water hoses on us as blacks, and now they choke holding us.
Right.
And nothing's changed. But we keep going back to the same people for change when it's a practice of nepotism that exists when it comes to politics.
Right.
You'll see Mark Ridley Thomas, Sr., Jr., the third, and so forth. And so they learn from their parents, and then they know the game. So we really have to know about where this money's going.
Right.
That should be going to this in the city. Is it really going to those that can really bring a change with the money that occurs? Because when you're doing it grassroots, you don't think they see that you're doing this with no money. They're going to try to get rid of you because they're getting paid to do something you're doing without the money.
Right.
That's politics.
In our case, what happened in Compton, like, unbelievable. Like, you would think, like, everybody would be behind this, especially when I'm coming with Hollywood money.
Right.
I'm coming with money,
Right.
not asking for money.
Right.
And they still denied the program. You know, this go all the way. I'm already filming the whole TV series. I think I was filming like 5 months to get rejected on national TV while I'm filming in front of everybody. You know, I go in front of the city council and I get 3-2. The mayor was with me, and the mayor right today, she was with me too. But the other 3 rejected for not even having a real reason why. Just their reason was like, Chico's a drug dealer. He, you know, he's hiding money's in the wall, like some stuff. I've been doing
Guilt by association.
guilt by association.
That's what happens a lot. Guilt by association.
But also you caught the dialogue on the camera about the reason why the lady had voted against this, Zarita, because you were in support of the mayor.
Because I've been knowing them, reading them for forever. We went to school together. So the mayor who came in, she wasn't from Compton, so that was automatically pissed off her because she wasn't from Compton. She moved to Compton, stayed with her grandmother. So my thing, when she came to me and asked me for help, could I get the Crips and Pirates together? And at first I said no, because I had my youth center was in Watts. But I'm like, you know what? This might be something I can do. Like, I can get the Crips and Pirates together. So when I came on board, I was intrigued that she even wanted to help Crips and Pirates establish and get a job and do job training. So I immediately said yes. And so now when I start meeting with the Crips and Pirates, this is what formed a whole bunch of Crips and Pirates. So it's 1,500, 2,000 of them meeting.
Damn.
So what happened then was like, wow, you know, the only reason I started a construction job because we had a job fair. The job fair was not going to hire these dudes, but it was just for play. And so I'm like, damn, this is crazy. These dudes really looking for jobs. They're really trying to change their life. Right. And that's why I ended up starting a construction company. So when I started the construction company, never had an idea of making this into a film. I just wanted to make sure these dudes can afford a living. So I was just paying them out of my pocket. Mark Wahlberg and Penny Marshall were like, well, Chico, what you been doing in Compton? This is what I've been doing. But I was filming it on my camera, and it was their idea. It was you should make this out of TV series. And if once you make it out of TV series, the world can see we can get so much money to help your community. That's all I was trying to do. Like, you know, showing like this is what we really doing in the city of Compton. We creating jobs, we creating opportunities, we create, you know, not just a job, but opportunity for them dudes to move this on and start their own company and their family can eat. And when you get denied doing that kind of stuff, like it really broke down where all the Crips and Power who see me and I'm like, gee, man, what's going on? Start the program back. I don't even know if I have enough energy to start that program back, because it was like, damn, this really happened. Like you can watch the clip on anything. Like they cursing and shit. Like, no, right. Like this is like unbelievable. And I'm telling them who I got behind me, Hollywood, spend his money in the city.
And they had they let their own personal feelings kind of stifle community growth, basically.
That's exactly what happened. But, sad thing about all of them who voted against me got voted out. Not one of them. Just Galvan is the only one still there. And he hanging by,
he's being
fraud.
investigated.
He's going to trial right now.
Right.
For the same shit that fraud, So it was like, damn, it's been over 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know. I want to come back and help the community and stop the violence and shit, but it's so hard. Like you said, we do this stuff not that we're getting a big check at the end of the day. We're really trying to change the focus and the outcome of these young kids' life. Especially when you say, like, if I knew what was going to happen 30, 40 years ago, I would have been stopped this. Right. I didn't know all of it was going to be like this would be all over the country. We go speak at other countries, blood saying something. So, like, really? You know what I'm saying? Like, right. That don't make sense. I was in New York, like, I did some TV show. And I walk out and do gang banging them. And I was like, man, that's crazy, man. Like,
Definitely. So we talk about like government role and responsibilities in communities and things like that. And kind of how we as the community need to be following what's going on, where the money's going, things like that, right? And you talked about your experiences being undermined specifically by the city of Compton. And we connected over an issue in regards to the crack cocaine epidemic, specifically some videos that I was posting about.
Yeah. I saw one of your videos that you posted about the CIA coming to watch.
Right.
And I happened to be there because I had just got out on bail, Maxine. And I went with Maxine Waters to the event. She thought it was a great idea that I'll come because they don't know I'm out. They think I'm still there. And so they were talking about that they wasn't involved in bringing drugs to South Central. But they don't have no idea I'm sitting in that room listening to them. I'm about to get sentenced in a couple of weeks, me and Rick. And so they're like, well, we haven't found no link. And I stood up and I'm screaming, I'm hollering at the Deutsch, the head of the CIA, because he was lying to the public like, well, we're not, we're doing a thorough investigation, but you just told me in my cell that the investigation was over and we was going to prison. So that's why I was saying, well, you just lied. You just told us that you told these people that they're investigating. But at the end of the day, the investigation was over. Y'all know it was direct link that the government supplied us with drugs. All that happened, and they just put it down. We ended up going to prison, but at the end of the day, that really happened. Our government was involved in selling us drugs, supplying us with drugs. We didn't. It's not like we knew. Right. We didn't know until Gary Webb wrote the article, until Cora Boca, who just passed away a few weeks ago, gave him the story. The only reason she gave him the story because they told us Black Dawn, who was the main dude that we were dealing with, was not going to testify against her. So all the stuff I'm telling you now, this was not allowed in court. We couldn't say none of it.
Oh, wow.
We couldn't say that the CIA was involved. The judge ruled all that out like this was like we made this story up. So we didn't have a chance to say that we have proof, we have evidence. That wasn't even the case. Like this shit wasn't even allowed in court. Right. So that's why, like when we was about to go to trial, I stood up and said I was guilty. There's no way we're gonna win. Rick didn't have a choice to say he was not guilty because he was going to get a life sentence regardless. We didn't get no deal in the case and none of that. So when I was arguing with the dude that day, I was like, man, this shit is like, damn, man, we was really just pawns to the whole drug gang. Like you think that you was born, but we wasn't nothing.
Okay. And so when did you realize that like you were involved in something that was like much bigger than just like a street level operation? You mentioned Gary Webb. For people that might not know who he was a white journalist from San Jose. So when me and Rick got arrested, we got busted.
selling, I was buying like 100 kilos from Blandon.
Damn.
So when we get arrested, that's what it was. But probably 3 weeks after we got arrested, and he said, I got some information I need to share with you. You need to, can I come visit y'all? So we said, yeah. So when he came and visited us, he's showing us all the stuff Gary had. Gary was like, look, this lady gave me this information. The guy who's going to tell on you, we thought his name was Oscar Denilio. That was his name. But his last name was Blandon. Like, damn, man, that's him. That's him.
That's our
like,
connect.
That's the connect. And
Right.
like, well, he's been working with the government forever, like with Oliver North them. So Oliver North, now we get the paperwork. It's redacted, like the names. Maxine ended up getting unredacted. So we see the name, we see Bush, we see Oliver North, we see, like, what the fuck? So now we find out that all these years that they've been supplying us with drugs to finance this war in Nicaragua with the Sandinistas, like, you got to be kidding. So when Gary's bringing this information to it, he going to all our court dates, so he hearing all this stuff. So he beginning to give it to her. So our lawyer is telling the judge, you got to let this in. And she was like, oh, this is a made up story. This can't be true.
Mm.
Like, why would the government? It's all out now. That's the truth.
Right.
That happened. But you got to realize the time that we was going to court in '94, they wouldn't lie. They would none of this information in.
Right.
So even when Rick went to try and lost, then the judge, like, he almost won because of the simple fact that we never had no drugs. I was buying it from them.
Mm.
So it was entrapment right there. We never even touched the drug. Only thing, like I said, like, don't charge me for the drugs. You got to charge me for the amount of money I got. Not because I never bought the drugs because you didn't never sell it to me. It was a setup. I was never gonna buy the drug.
Right.
So we couldn't win because of entrapment. We should have won, but we didn't. We ended up getting a life sentence, and I pled guilty. Now I have a deal. I just let the judge sit, and she sent me to 10 years, 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how the shit went. Like, real stuff people don't know. Like, when we talked to Rick and like we went to jail, the government, we didn't know. We didn't know until Gary Webb busted the story for it.
And so how did you feel to like realize that all was going on and that you guys were
as soon as I found out, once I became good friends with Gary. Like, every picture he had, every indictment, all the stuff that Gary, I gave it to him. Mm. I talked to Gary before he get killed. Like, 2 days, he telling me the people like on his back pole, like, like he says he's seen some suspicious man. But one thing that Gary Webb told me, he never was gonna kill himself. Like, Chico, if they ever said I killed myself, I just want you to know, I'm never gonna kill myself. I'm not. And then, the whole thing that he got shot twice in the head. I was like, damn. So I read it in the news. My father called me and said, you talked to, you heard about Gary? I'm like, no, what happened to Gary? And my father told me, they're like, damn. Gary rode around with me and we drive to my neighborhood. It's dead bodies on there. And he was like, why the police ain't there? Because I said it was just one body. He wanted to get out and film and shit. And I'm like, oh man, let's just go. It's the same. It's the same dude. I know when Bone did the film and if his homeboy had, you see Bastard at a party.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That same guy, twin. He was driving through my neighborhood, but he had on red stuff and he ended up getting killed. And I see the whole, like, what I'm saying, like, went down. But at the same time, it was the same shit. Like, damn, this is crazy. I saw it, and like, me and Bone talk about the situation. Like, Gary Webb was with me when that happened. Like, it's just them kind of situation. People don't know.
Right. Well, definitely rest in peace to Gary Webb. And I think that anybody...
And the lady court just died. She the one who broke the story because her boyfriend was Conejo. Conejo was dealing with, and I know you don't know these names, but Conejo was dealing with Blandon. Mm-hmm. And Blandon, and then she was like, well, Blandon is not going to testify against Sean because he wouldn't testify against Conejo. Mm-hmm. Conejo, like, I said, why wouldn't he testify? I said, because he worked for the CIA. There's no way they'll let him. But he showed up when me and Rick was going to court.
Oh, he did show up?
He did show up. He showed up every day.
Mm-hmm.
What year did Webb get killed?
I think 2000, not too long ago. Shit, like 2012 or something like that. 2000.
See, I knew Webb in
2004.
He died 2004. I knew Webb. I got out from the life sentence under 3 strikes after between 98 because he wrote a book.
Yeah.
And I was on numerous shows where he was exposing the CIA. He was with a group. We had an organization called Black Writers on Tour, but he was part of it. I was with Dr. Rosie Milligan. So we used to have a lot of conversation with that young man there. I didn't know he had got killed, though, but I knew at that time he was just exposure.
I talked to the man
I knew him
2 days
in 98,
before.
99.
Yeah, because then, like, the lady Cora who gave him the story, like, he explained it to him, like, Chico, you know, I thought the lady was crazy. Like, this can't be true. So when he started researching her paper that she gave him, he took it to another level. That's when, you know, he was coordinating out. He went everywhere. I did a bunch of shows with Gary, too. I drove Gary all around to tell this story. Because why did we, you know, how did we get involved in a drug gang? How did this, you know? So he wanted to know where we grew up at, where I grew up at. But Gary, you know, yeah, he ended up, you know, they said he committed suicide, but he had 2 bullet holes to the head.
Well, he always told me they killed presidents in the United States.
Yes.
Okay. Well, rest in peace, Gary Webb. If people want to know more, he did write a book, Dark Alliance. You could check that out online. And so, yeah. So as we're nearing the end of our interview here, you know, again, you both mentioned the ways in which you're trying to kind of shift the narrative of gangbanging in LA and really trying to find the tools and resources to help a lot of these men that have been caught up in the gang lifestyle, you know? And so for you both, what would you want your legacy to be, you know, as people that have grew up in LA and in Compton and that are dedicating, you know, their time to more positive movement in the community? Like, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you see yourself really helping with that impact?
I can say this is a fact. This is true. Like, both of our peers, a lot of them dead. Like, I've been a part of that over 30 times. So I'm blessed to just be here talking about what I'm doing now, to have a film company, to do productive things. But, you know, as a kid growing up, and especially like the 70s, 80s, like our parents were still together. Like, it wasn't like I grew up with both of my parents, mother and father. That wasn't an issue. As I see today, a lot of youngsters grow up without their mother or father in the house. So that is a problem. We gotta establish a family unity back together. We gotta establish, you know, these guys gotta get some careers. And for me now, I think like a lot of the radio, the movies and stuff glamorize Crips and Pyrus of what's going on in the community.
Right.
They think it's cool to Crip walk, and you know, we did that when we shot somebody or something. Now it's like a fashionable thing. Like, to see that happening, like, man, it's not how it's supposed to be. You got young kids that's young, you know, want to be a Crip, I want to be a Blood, because it's in the music. They hear this shit every day. They watch it on TV, and it's supposed to be a fun thing to do. Going to prison is like, oh, I want to go to prison just because, like, really? And when you get there, you're like, damn, it ain't what the media portray it to be.
Right.
Like, it's some rough times. So for me, it's just like, how do we change the whole narrative, like, to get our kids back into education, sports, and being productive citizens in our community?
Okay, definitely. And you, Mr. Farmer?
I just want my legacy to be where I gave back to the community in which I have the most vested interest in is my community and my life, which we all do. So I know I was part of the destruction in our community. So I feel that I want my legacy to be where I give back to the community, try to mentor these youths, create dialogue, not only with gangs, but with mental health, homelessness, financial literacy, mental health. I deal in all these categories: law, writing, lecturing. I just want to be known as a person that played the game fair, played by rules, stayed in his lane, but always was giving back to the community because, the only thing stronger than a man's pride is a mother's love. These men won't swallow their pride. They'll swallow every pill to stay alive, but they won't swallow their pride. So I try to be a conflict resolutionist, not to where it's no big U's or little I's, but just to create dialogue to where they talk and conversate before it escalates to where it get to be extreme violence. So we just advocating a better lifestyle for the community, and not only that, but that all Black lives matter. And in fact, all lives matter at the end of the day, if you want to just play it fair and square across the board. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to, if I could change my life, if I could change my life, 40 arrests, half my friends dead, 30-something years in prison, never worked till I got to be 60-something. And if I can make that change, if I can do it, then certainly other people out there given the chance. And that's what we want to do, create a chance for other people's voices to be heard and expressed.
Okay, definitely. Anything else that comes to mind that you want the people to know, what they need to be on the lookout for, where to reach you at, anything like that?
I have a film that's coming out. I am getting one. That's, I think it's going to be a very educational film about what happened after 9/11, the prisoners of war and stuff like that. It should be coming out in the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
I can be reached at Chico. Reach me on Instagram at Chico 2031. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And we can continue to fight for this peace rally we're doing with the hip hop fashion and hip hop world.
Okay.
Doing a lot of podcasts and to get the word out there.
Okay. Do you guys have an upcoming peace rally, or are you guys organizing it right now? Or?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm not mistaken, like in May.
Okay, but it's coming up. So basically we should be looking out for that information on the time and the date, basically.
Yeah. And he's speaking on Maxine Waters supporting it, Big Liz, Battle Cat is involved in it. He's involved in it. And it's a federal project that's going on for peace building by Lee Boxer, I believe. And also they have a HR 1111 initiative that's going through legislation up in the Senate, Congress right now, where it's been introduced, then it go through Congress, then Senate. So this is also part of the message that's being involved. Okay. And it's dealing toward the hip hop community and the violence going on. That's part of it. But it's going to take signatures and votes and support. So along with him, we're being involved with that also. And we have a project that we have going on called the World Epidemic, Platinum City Golden West Entertainment, which I'm an advisor, consultant, and public relations and media relations, which is dealing with senseless gun violence. Okay. We have all the major characters on here from Freeway Rick, Trey D, Spice One, Kikita Sherrill. We just got all
Ice-T.
We just got all type of Yuck Mouth, Tony Muhammad, Nation of Islam, the guy, the Latinos in Training Day, Fathers in Hip Hop.
So we got a bunch of everybody in this.
This is going to be. It's been a 3-year project.
Oh wow!
It's coming along good. We about to start the editing process in the next few weeks, a month, and stuff. We do have everybody. And we talk about mental health and the big issues and what we try to. You got to think about it. We never had no kind of treatment, no kind of counseling. All the murders that we were seeing, all the stuff, prison time we did,
right?
But never was the answer to our solution was mental health. That wasn't even that. That's for us. It was like, man, we don't want to see no psychiatrist, but Black community, that's the whole thing about, we don't need no help. We can make this happen ourselves. It got to be somewhere in our life where we like, damn, that is a problem.
And we also have a youth reinvestment fund by State Senator Sawyer that I'm involved with, where it's appropriated for 4 years, NFL Players and Association dealing with mental health. And we're also trying to introduce, where I'm writing up a legislation to lobby, speaking on mental health, where I feel the inner cities, because of the adverse conditions that they see. And, like when we walk right out here, it could be a dead body, it could be a dope dealer, it could be a prostitute, it could be a whole multitude of crimes.
But it doesn't affect us.
Yeah, but we would think, but we know because it affected me.
Right.
So I know it affected a child that's up. So we're trying to get a legislation for a initiative that I'm calling ISIS, acronym ICSS, Inner City Stress Syndrome. And those are the conditions that you suffer from being in the inner city, such as what we grew up in, to where I feel it's just the same for blacks. We get Amber Alert, Megan's Law. Well, we need something for the inner city youth, whoever are the inhabitants, brown, black, white, or whatever, but we're up under adverse conditions. Mm. So we're working to where we're not just running our mouth. We got a pen to the pad as well as our boots to the ground.
Okay, definitely. And let the people know where they can find you, Mr. Farmer.
Melvin Farmer. I'm on, I usually work off of Facebook. Melvin Farmer, I think it's 7759. I'm on Instagram, YouTube, and check out Yuck Mouth, Smoke a Lot. Wasn't that Smoke a Lot? We got a podcast out that me, him, and T Jets was on, where we spend a lot of jewels. Nice. You can go there, or you can contact me at area code 323-750-3592. That's Milligan Books. If you guys want to write urban novels or write books, we have a publishing company, Milligan Books. We also have tune in to me for my program, Hidden Corners, where I go across the nation and hit corners and just talk to people from all walks of life. Fred Hampton in Chicago, Jay Prince, Houston, Kington, New York, my man here, Compton. We just go and do it really, raw and on the gutter from the sewer, where we get the information from the streets.
Okay, I like that. Well, thank you both for your time. I really do appreciate it. And make sure that you guys stay tuned and keep up with what Mr. Chico and Mr. Farmer have coming out. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right.